Now, your story, you come from Section 8 housing and food stamps to now becoming a really successful CPA with an MBA. I'd love to hear just a little bit about that journey and how God led you into accounting.
I went to church because my parents went to church, but I didn't really have any relationship with Jesus until I went to college and was by myself and on my own. But thank God that all of the seeds that they planted on the inside of me, that there was enough in there that I remembered that Jesus is the one that I need once I left the house. And so really like in college when I got saved, I was an English major and I was wanting to build a homeless shelter. I still am. That's still my ultimate dream goal is to build a homeless shelter campus. And I wanted to be a professional grant writer so I could write grants for the nonprofit and fund it that way. And my very first, I guess, like deep interaction with the Lord, like with the Holy Spirit, was the Holy Spirit telling me to go into accounting because I didn't know anything about money and that the dream that I had since I was a child to build this homeless shelter campus was his dream for me. That's why I was so passionate about it. And but that because I didn't know anything about money and I came from a family that didn't teach me a lot about money and didn't have a lot about money, that I would just waste the Lord's money because out of lack of knowledge. And so I changed out of faith. I changed from an English major to an accounting major, and it was the hardest thing ever. So I went from like being top of the class to like struggling in every single class. And even my friends thought I was crazy. They're like, you're not. It's supposed to be in that like major. You don't belong in that profession. Your personality, they're like everything. You should be with us in the English department. But I really knew God had touched me and that I knew it was his voice, even though I was a new babe in Christ. And I was like, no, I'm supposed to go to accounting. And by God's grace, I went all the way and became a CPA.
Wow. From English to accounting, like I was in English, so communication, writing, all the things. I couldn't imagine going from that to numbers and whatnot. So it definitely has to be a calling, right? Like God saying, okay, you have to switch and I will help you. And I love how your testimony really ties that faith and obedience and directly to financial stewardship, because I know that's a value that you have is to help other entrepreneurs or other business owners really steward their finances well. Now, one thing I want to share before we dive too deep into this for all of you listening, the reason that Leticia is here is because I have learned so much from her. And so she has helped walk me through my own bookkeeping because I am not a numbers girl. I was always good at math, but I don't like math. Like it's not my thing. When I get to Friday and it says, get your books in order, I'm like, oh, I hate doing this. But you have really helped me to make it a little bit more simple of a process and to understand it more and be more strategic with how I'm stewarding my finances when it comes to my business. And so I very highly recommend Letitia. So I just want to say that. But you've also something that you've shared before is that our ability to handle business finances is really rooted in more than just numbers. It's tied to our beliefs and our habits and even our relationship with God. Can you start unpacking that a little bit for us and what that looks like?
Yeah, for sure. So something that I noticed just in my own walk with learning about money was that so when it let me talk about like right now, many times if you tell somebody you struggle with money, they'll talk to you about a budget. You gotta make more money than you spend, and it's very the technical side of the house. But the truth is that if you are struggling with managing money, then before you do the technical side, you really have to do the hard side. So it's like in your household when you grew up, was there a shortage of money? Was there a lot of money but no respect for it and there was no budget? It's like a lot of times how you were taught about money affects how you spend it later on once you become an adult. And then if you're a business owner, your business finances really reflect what you do in your personal finances. So you just do the same things just in two separate environments, personally and business, but you'll see a lot of the same habits. And so when I meet with people with bookkeeping or taxes, and they'll So number one, it's always about not creating a place of shame because a lot of people feel ashamed, especially if they're professionals or they have degrees or something, or they have accolades that they did not steward their money better. And then I even see with Christians that there's also a lot of shame as well if they're broke or if they have no money. It's like there's so much shame around that. So it's first removing the shame from how you feel about money and then saying, why do I spend like this? And why is there no control in certain areas or for certain things that I spend money on? And once you tackle that, then you can start doing the technical side of the house. Because it's those are the things, even like what you believe God says about money. Some people don't believe in tithes and offerings, some people do. It's like, uh, w- do you see yourself as a steward of the money that God blesses you with? Or is it just yours to do with whatever? So that's really the first place I try to talk about first or try to work through first when I'm doing financial planning or even bookkeeping and taxes with clients. And then we move on to the more technical stuff. Because I often feel like that part, if that part is not addressed, then it's like when I deal with people that say that they're scared of money or they're scared of the IRS or they're scared of something, then the whole appointment is grounded in fear. So it's like we have to lift that first and say, no, you're intelligent. You're actually an expert. I do this all the time in my appointments where it's like just because I'm a CPA does not mean that I'm the bee's knees and that I'm smarter than you in money. It's like, no, we're both experts, maybe in different fields and different areas, but you are intelligent and you can learn this too. Like, there's like, you can do this too. If I could do it, coming from being an English major and just struggling my whole way, trying to get through accounting, it's like and then finally becoming a CPA, it's like anybody can do this. It's just about breaking it down, making it more palatable, and then helping you grow in that area.
That's really, really good. Like the mindset and habits, if they're not right, it's almost easy for us to avoid the books altogether because of like underlying fears or past experiences or past mindsets. And so it's almost like before you can even help someone, you're trying to get to the root of what is it that is holding them back or what is it that will stand in the way of the stewardship.
Yes, yes, exactly. And there's all kinds of things too. I've seen even where people trust one person with everything and they never ask any questions, like never ask any questions. But that might have been something that they saw with their mom and their dad. That one person did everything, no questions were asked, and you just believe that it was taken care of. So it's like helping people say, okay, if you brought on a partner that didn't do that, how do you make sure that you can now voice and ask questions so it doesn't happen again and that you don't get behind on your taxes? Like it's trying to untangle that piece first, and then the rest of it is really the easier part.
And I'd say the financial side can hold a lot of entrepreneurs back or even cause them almost to quit because they're like, the legal side, the financial side, there's so many aspects that we need to be somewhat good at or have someone in our realm that's good at it. So I'm curious your thoughts on this. Why is it so important for us as entrepreneurs to really get on top of our bookkeeping early in our business instead of waiting for tax season or when things will get better, that type of thing. I know some people are just like, I'll just do it all at tax season, but then it's super overwhelming.
It is, just like you said, it's really overwhelming when you do it in tax season. Another thing too is when you don't do it on a more routine basis throughout the year, you will miss items. It's just because it's the volume of transactions that happen in a year and then trying to crunch 12 months into like a few days as far as the workload goes, you're going to miss some write-offs. That's the second thing. Another thing too is that memory wise, because a year has lapsed, there's going to be things that you have forgotten. So then you're doing more digging because you didn't just do it while it was fresh in your mind. And then it's also easy to lose stuff when you wait to just do everything like and cram it in tax season. It's really easy to lose receipts, to lose like invoices and memos and emails. I don't know about anyone else, but since I've become a business owner, it's like my email has exploded. It's like so many. It's like if I sign up for a software, they also send me all of their marketing. It's like, no, I just want to pay my bill and just tell me where the courses are, but don't send me like 5 emails a week. So it's like, oh gosh, I just feel like my email has exploded. So that's another thing too. It's so easy for it to get lost in email, lost in places, lost in files and folders. Um, And then also, keeping up with it regularly helps you make better decisions for your business. So that's another thing too, is like if you don't know where your finances are, then you're not going to be able to plan for larger purchases or plan for um, a rainy day. It's like if you don't know what's going on with it, it's hard for you to forecast and plan for different things that are coming in the future. Another something that's maybe more technical is that when you want to grow your business, if you're looking to grow by way of taking out a loan, your books need to be done for your taxes to be done for you to give over a profit and loss statement and your tax return to the bank. So it's like when you don't have those things in order, it also becomes an anchor where you're not able to move forward if you wanted to purchase a building or purchase a large piece of equipment using debt. But those sort of things start to get in the way, or even qualify for a loan. Sometimes when you're self-employed, if you want to qualify for a mortgage for your family, they're going to ask you for your business tax returns because that's your source of income. So if you don't have your books or your tax returns, it's like, how do you prove how much income you have, right? So um, those are just some of the reasons why it's important.
Yeah, it's a good reminder. It's like the habits we set early on really shape our business's future. Even if we don't think it, we're just a small fish in the big sea, but eventually the business grows. And as the business grows, you want your finances organized. So I think one step for us to do here is to really get practical. I'd love to hear more about the best practices that you recommend for setting up a really simple, effective bookkeeping system from the start, especially for those like me. I mean, you've worked with me, you understand. I am not a numbers person, don't care, don't like numbers. So, how can we make this really practical for everybody?
Yep. So, as far as record keeping goes, something that I tell my clients to do is to create, like on their phone, to create an album that's called Receipts 2025 or Receipts 2026. And so, whenever they have a paper receipt, take a picture of it and then save it to that photo album on your phone, so that at least if you do wait till tax season, everything is inside the photo album. The same is true for email because a lot of receipts are emailed as well. So create a folder within your email that just says receipts for 2025. And then the next step, you just have to be diligent about putting things in there as they come in so that they don't get lost. That's something that because my email feels like it gets bombed with so many marketing emails, that's something that I have to do. As soon as I see a bill come up, I forward it to my bookkeeping software so it gets recorded, and then I put it into the receipt folder. And then that way it's easy for me to find things if there's something off in my bookkeeping records. Another thing too is to have a backup. So ever if ever you're audited, so this is more of like FYI for advice. If ever you're audited, your bank statement is not proof. Is not going to be proof of it's proof that there was money that left your business bank account to these different vendors or these different places, but it's not actually proof that the transaction was business related. What the auditor is going to ask for is the receipt. Easy example that I always use is that the receipt, if you go to Chevron to buy gas, the receipt proves that you bought gas or if you bought beer and bubble gum, right? So it's like the actual receipt details what you spent the money on, and so don't ever throw your receipts away. If you don't like paper receipts, I know a lot of people don't, just take pictures of it and save it in that photo album. And then have a backup. So just in case you lose your phone, make sure it's like backed up to the cloud. Just make sure I always have a backup of whatever my wherever my documentation is saved. And then another thing too is to if Friday sounds like a bad day to end with bookkeeping. I don't end my Fridays with bookkeeping either. I actually start my Mondays with bookkeeping because you're right. By the time you get to the end of Friday, you're like, I would like to see the weekend and not all these receipts. So that's what I do for my clients and for my own accounting firm is that I do bookkeeping Monday through Thursday, and then it's like I usually don't do I save taxes for Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. But anyways, but yeah, just if choose a day that you would like to do it, or choose a time in the month, at least once a month, I would say, to go through everything. Because once 1 month turns into two, two turns into three, you're really going to be like scraping through trying to remember what each transaction is. And then if you are going to use a bookkeeping software, which I always advise people to do, even if they're small, is to find something that you like. Um, something that's easy for you to adapt to, something that makes sense when you put everything, and then something that has a short learning curve for you, because it's really as a non-accounting entrepreneur, you're learning the accounting and you're learning the software, right? So it's like the software cannot suck up so much of your time that you never get to do the actual like bookkeeping work. And so if it's too difficult as far as the learning curve goes, then maybe it's not the right technology. So definitely take advantage of the free trial or the discounted trial. See if it works. If it doesn't, cut the trial so that you're not charged full price, and then move on to something else quickly. Don't linger so long that it turns into the full price 3 months later.
Yeah, that's a good point. As you were talking about that and you were like, all the subscriptions, all the emails, I agree. I'm like, why? I just wanted to have this software to try it. And now I have all these emails. Um, when you said cancel the subscription so you don't get charged, I'm curious because I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of subscriptions they don't really remember that they have. Do you have, and this is totally off the subject, well, not really totally, but do you have like a best practice for keeping up with that and knowing what you're subscribed to so that we can cancel if we are like, we're not using it anymore? Why waste the money? Even if it's only like a $10 a month subscription, right?
Yes, for sure. So I actually use my bookkeeping for that. So I have, of course, in my bookkeeping software, like I have a category for all the software subscriptions, and each month I look at them and I ask myself, when was the last time I used it? Do I really use it? And will I use it in the future? And it's like if it's like I don't use it, I don't think I'll use it in the future, like it has to go. Because you're right, even the $10 ones, you're like, oh, I wanted to learn that. Like CapCut is like 9.99 for the pro version. It's like I wanted to learn that to do reels, but I haven't touched it in 7 months, so I just gave them $70. Right. So it's like, and then I can just turn it on when I'm ready. That's the nice thing, since it is a subscription, is like, no, when I'm ready, I can turn it back on. But if I'm not utilizing it right now, it has to go so that it's not eating away at my cash, or whatever account that you're using. But that's really how I manage it. Is I look at my profit and loss statement, and then I open up the account for software subscriptions, and then I go through them one by one. I'll usually organize them from most expensive to least expensive, like in the when you can sort. And then I just look at the most expensive ones and I'm saying, am I utilizing this subscription for the amount that I'm paying for it? That's another question I ask myself, is like, if I'm paying, $100 for it, but am I like actively participating at $100? Like and if the answer is no, then should I look for another tool? But
Yeah.
that's like the virtual rent. Subscriptions are like virtual rent. That's so many to do all of the things you need to do. Oh my gosh.
Right. And, that's the beauty of online business. You can have a smaller overhead, but once you start subscribing to all these things, it can add up really quickly. So, like, really focusing and prioritizing what you're using and how you're using it, I think would be really important. One other thought I have before we move into kind of tax season is you had mentioned at least every month updating your books, but how often would you recommend doing it? And what happens if we were to fall behind? Like what does that cause?
Yes, so I always recommend to do it on a weekly basis. I think it's more manageable and it's quicker because it just happened, the week prior. But I understand that that's not feasible for everyone. And so, once a week would be ideal. Once a month would, for me, that would be like that that would be the line in the sand for me. Like I would not do once a quarter. I had a bookkeeping client ask me to do quarterly bookkeeping because that's what her previous accountant did. And it made me angry, because not at her, but it's because I do it. Just I think because I come from corporate America and we're not allowed to do the books quarterly, like not touch it for a quarter. I was just like, how can you remember what you did, 3 months ago? So anyways, it's like I still did it I still did it on the regular schedule, even though she was quarterly. I had to go back and tell her that. I don't know how people do that. I was just like, but then that's how other people wanna do business. That's not how I wanna do business. But, anyways, but I wouldn't suggest doing it on even when it's my books. Tax season is like a quarter that I fall behind, for sure on my own books, and then it's just so many transactions. So I just wouldn't say to do it on a quarterly basis. It really gets too much in general. And I'm an accountant, and I'm like, no, it's too many. But I would say to at least try to do it weekly and just choose a day and time where it makes sense for you. And then, what was your second question, Gabe?
Yeah, it was kind of on, like, if we don't do our books often enough, what happens when we fall behind? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so what that looks like is usually, well, at least what I've seen when working with clients who bring like a cleanup job to me and they haven't touched it in a year, 2 years, 3 years. What it feels like a lot for the client is like a lot of stress. They're like everything is off, nothing is reconciling. I can't find where anything is. So then it feels just like chaos, and because of the disorganization. And then when you're a business owner, you can't do your taxes unless your books are done. So then it becomes stressful that I won't make the deadline for taxes, or if I have an extension, I won't make the extension because my books are messy and then I don't even know how to clean it up. So I think the internal stress is really what I see mostly from the clients that I work with. But it's also if you don't have those your receipts in order, if you don't have them stored somewhere, then it's this long process of trying to scrape for everything. That's really what it is when I'm working with clients, is like, have you looked here? Have you looked in this account? Have you pulled it down from Amazon? How about Target? And it's like going through all of their accounts, trying to scrape in their receipts so that we can finish the bookkeeping. And so I would say that it's anything is easier when you manage it more routinely. And that could be anything, not just for your bookkeeping, but it could be if you're planning meals or if you have children and they have a schedule. It's like when you do it in advance or you set yourself up for success, you can be successful. And I would say that if you're in a place right now where your books are messy, then to eat an elephant one bite at a time. So it's like, uh, first start with how do you get all of your receipts so that you can clean it up and then organize them. Usually January, February, March, April, May, June. It has to be chronological. And that's how I would attack it, and then work on a month by month basis. I would start from the most recent month and then go backwards because you'll remember the most recent transactions first, before the later ones. Those will be the easier ones to clean up, are the most recent ones, and then just work your way backwards until you're able to get everything in order. Um, I guess another thing too is just when you look at your books, instead of seeing like a chore, to look at it as because essentially the reason why you want to do your own bookkeeping or do your bookkeeping is so that you can get your financial statements, your profit and loss, your balance sheet. And those reports tell you the financial health of your business. So it's like instead of seeing all of the grunt work of categorizing and organizing, is to say that when I can look at my financial statements, I can see how healthy my business is financially. Then that helps me to say no to certain projects because I don't have the cash cushion for it. Or it helps me to say, yes, I can do it, but it has to be with these stipulations because I know where my money is and I know where I'm growing my money to, right? So that's really what the power of bookkeeping and accounting is those statements read like a story, and then they give you information to just make better decisions on how you spend your money. Because you every all of us want to be better stewards of our money, but it's when you're an entrepreneur, I think what all of us are trying to do is to spend money in ways that make more money. And it's like when you have your statements in front of you, you can say, okay, I spent this much, but how much revenue did that bring in, right? It's like I've spent this much on a marketing campaign, but how does that tie into people that actually came to my website, actually bought something, actually enrolled in something, and then told me that they found it from this marketing campaign. So That's really what the end goal is trying to get to your financial statements.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The more organized our bookkeeping is, the better our reports are, which means we can make strategic decisions about our business. And I think that's something
Yes.
that you taught me was how to analyze those numbers, how to analyze the reports to be able to make those decisions because I never even really thought about it that way before. I just thought I'm doing it because I need to for taxes, right? But there's a lot more that goes into it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you said that perfectly and so concise.
I love it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about tax season. What are a few things that we can do before January to make the process smooth and stress free, or as stress free as possible, I guess?
Yes, so I would do an in-depth review sometime between November and December of your records, your bookkeeping records, because you're, again, building that up for tax season. So instead of waiting till January before the holidays strike, even if you get through Thanksgiving and do it mid-December, I would do an in-depth review of all of your expenses and income to make sure it's correct. And it's just because you don't want somebody to issue, for instance, in January, I've seen this happen where somebody works as a 1099 contractor and the person that they did contract work for issued them an incorrect 1099, which was like more money than they actually received. But it's like if you never kept up with all your records, you could never check that person and say, "Hey, my records show you only paid me 2,000. You issued a 1099 to me that says 3,000. I did not get that extra $1,000. Can we talk about this?" And it's just that's important too because a copy of the 1099 is sent to you and a copy is sent to the IRS, which is how the IRS knows how much income you should have reported for that sort of work, even W-2 income. So do a in-depth review before the end of the year. Don't wait till January. And then at least you can be proactive about any mistakes that you catch to catch them before the year ends. And this goes with like retirement accounts, all of that stuff too, because sometimes they'll have that incorrect. And then I would also organize and box up all of your records and receipts. So something that I do is the way that I organize my receipts, I just have a simple accordion file folder and it's January through December. And so all of my physical receipts are in there. And then I also from my receipt folder in my email, I have something on Google Drive that breaks out all of the receipts January through December as well. So it's like I will organize and get all of that taken care of so that in January for tax season, if I have to go back and look at anything, that the bulk of the year is already taken care of. I just have to worry about half of November and all of December or something like that. What you're really trying to do is lessen your load during tax season so that it isn't stressful and you don't feel like you're under the gun. And then of course, always have a backup. We usually, if we have a paper file, we have like a scanned copy in the cloud somewhere. If we have scanned copies in the cloud, then we have like it saved in another different location. So Dropbox and Google Drive. And that's just if you lose access to one, you always have access to your records somewhere else and that you're never without.
Yeah, that makes sense. Backing up, so important. Like technology crashes. We can't,
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty good, but there are times that we may lose things and we don't really want to lose it. So that's really, really good advice. So tax season, and then also, I mean, as we're organizing and getting ready for tax season, we probably are already doing some things in case we get audited. But do you have any best practices you haven't talked about or touched on yet that might be helpful for us to think about when it comes to an audit, even if we never get audited?
Yes. So, one of the things that I do and teach as far as like a best practice to be audit ready is on your actual receipts or even your emailed receipts, if you're able to do this, is to put why you made that purchase. So
Mm.
it's like just simply writing why you made that purchase. And the truth is that if you're ever audited, especially by the IRS, it's going to be 2 or 3 years after the tax year has passed because the IRS is usually running 2 to 3 years behind. So it's like, how will you remember why you made a specific purchase 3 years later, right? You may remember it, but it's just so much better if you actually write it on the receipt. So there's no need for you to scrape through the library of your mind, like it's already there. And so that's something that in accounting that we would teach our managers to do, we would be required to do, and anybody who had a company credit card, it's like always write why you made the purchase and then tying it to the business transaction or what have you. Even on travel, it's like, why are you going there? How is this creating more revenue in your business or furthering your partnerships or what have you? Always write the purpose. And then having it organized. So this is just a general way like that accounting departments do like boxing up records. Again, January, I have the folders January through December. The tax return goes in the back in its own separate folder, and then that goes in a banker box. That's literally how we would do it. And then we would label the outside that this was January through December of 2025 with the tax return, and then it would go in the storage closet, and or sometimes it's a warehouse, depending on what kind of company you work for. So the one of the companies I worked for, we had a whole storage warehouse of files. But essentially, what we would do is every seventh year, every year we would shuffle it. And then on the seventh year, all of those files were, they were destroyed. So they were shredded because the IRS's statute of limitations is 6 years. The only time they go back farther than that is in fraud. But other than that, for normal people that most people that get audited had made a mistake and they're not actually committing fraud. There's a lot of people out there committing fraud, but the majority of taxpayers are honest people that made mistakes on their tax returns or they made a mistake in keeping their documentation ready in case of audit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, such an important tip here. The one thing that you said was like writing down the why or the purpose. I don't
Mhm.
do that. So I wrote that down because I need to start doing that on my
Yes.
receipts. I'm getting better and better. Like I feel like I'm super organized in a way, but I'm not doing it as best as I could. So like what I've learned from you, I've gotten better and I think we just keep honing those skills and keep organizing and eventually maybe we'll arrive. I don't know. But yeah, that's a really great tip because then I mean, I don't remember what I did yesterday or why I did it. So to remember 3 years ago why I made that purchase, it's not going to happen. So I
Yes.
will just be in trouble.
Yes, and it's that's really what they're trying to their intent is to make sure that the transaction is truly for a business related activity, right? So it's like you're explaining about your business, but when it's several years ago, there could be one-off purchases that you never do regularly, and that's the thing that they pull. And I will say that in audit, when you have everything organized, it makes the audit time shorter. It's always still stressful, but the time that the auditor touches your stuff and when they leave makes it so much more shorter. And I will also say that when you have all those explanations there, I've worked in audit and I've also been audited. And it's just when you have all your explanations ready, it makes them feel like this is an organized person. This is somebody who knows what they're doing. This is not somebody who is breaking the law. This is somebody that has things here. So they'll also get a feeling like nothing is happening here and we can just close the book and move on. But it's usually when there's no receipts and you're trying to reconstruct it in front of them, then some everyone is different. For me, I was like a very helpful auditor. So if I feel like you were honest, but you just made a mistake, but you're being real with me, then I'll help you get through the audit and put things in place so that we can get through it. But then other auditors will see you being disorganized as an opportunity to make your life a nightmare, and they'll just ask for more stuff and dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And what I feel sometimes is unnecessarily just because you weren't prepared. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I feel like this kind of preparation can really bring peace of mind. I think that's something that
Yes.
business owners we want that peace of mind knowing, if someone knocks on our door, we're good to go. It's
Yeah.
solid. And we won't have to worry. Now, I know talking about numbers and finances and bookkeeping can really feel overwhelming. Or those listening, maybe someone's embarrassed about their books because they haven't been taking care of them like we should properly, like me, just not very long ago. What encouragement would you give to them today as they get started in really creating an organized system?
Let's see. I think, especially with your audience, what I would first encourage them is that as Christians, that because you have Jesus, because you have the Holy Spirit, that wherever you're lacking, the Lord is the one that makes our sufficiency is in Him. And so if you feel it's not worthy, but if you feel intimidated by the numbers, then it's really looking at yourself too much. And you have to say that, of course, no one is enough. No one is an expert in everything. And that whatever God has called you to do, He will equip you for it. And even if you have to hire somebody later in your entrepreneurial journey, to even ask God to put the right people in your pathway, to bring the right people to you, to even help you discern and don't be impressed by people who say they're professing Christians. It's like, no, let the Holy Spirit divide and show you who has the fruit of Jesus and who doesn't. And so just ask God to lead you, and then also remove all of the doubt for your about yourself, that you're not good enough or you don't know enough or you're not a financial person or whatever. Remove all of that language and say that because I have the Lord, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Because I have God, God will allow me to use this money and steward it well and do whatever He called me to do. So that's really the first part, is like, always remember that you're God's child, and that because you're His child, you can do this, that it is not impossible. It may be impossible for us, but with Jesus, nothing is impossible. Speak the word over yourself, over your finances, and allow God to grow you in areas that you feel underdeveloped. It's not a weakness, you're just underdeveloped, right? If you never knew how to swim, you have to learn how to swim, and it's going to be the basics. It's going to be learning how to blow bubbles, learning how to float. Like it, everyone starts somewhere. So that's where I would start with. And then number two, there's a lot of great resources because of technology and AI. There's so many resources across. It's like now the new issue is not a lack of access, but with the freedom of information, it's like now you have to have discernment on which one is the right thing to do. And so I would say that there's tons of QuickBooks classes out there. There's even your local community college might even offer a lot of great resources as far as learning QuickBooks and learning accounting. And so I would say that if you're bootstrapping, to first look within your local area, because sometimes even the libraries will offer QuickBooks classes for free, and it's like just source there, and um, learning this is also going to be an empowerment towards your journey as an entrepreneur. So another thing that I encourage people is that if you are building a $1 million business, a $1 billion business, you actually have to know your numbers. It's a skill set that you do have to adopt. And Shark Tank is a really great example because they're on air, they're on TV, and it's like literally each pitch, they ask for the backstory, they ask the mission, the vision, whatever. They'll ask the entrepreneurs what their background is in, and then they dive straight into the numbers. How much revenue do you have? What's your return on investment? Well, they'll ask all of these numbers. So it's like the numbers never go away. And so you have to look at the numbers as not a mountain to conquer, but an area for you to grow in so that you can go and do what God has called you to do.
Wow, love that. Okay, I love Shark Tank, but I do love it, like, because they are like, that's that's how you're valuing your business. That's
Yeah.
way too high or whatever, and they just like catch them. And so it is important to know our numbers. But I love your reminder too that like business and God is not separate. Finances and God are not separate. Like they bring God into your business, bring God into your finances because He is who will equip you. He will meet our needs. Like He is there to help us in the overwhelm, right? And so, like, that's such an important piece and takeaway from today. Now, you talked about a lot of different resources, but I'm going to like hype you up for a minute because, like I said, I went through your Automate to Dominate program, and Leticia, like, it was um, the best education I could have gotten for bookkeeping and finances when it came to my business. And so I don't want to like, I want, I'm not taking it lightly. Like I want people to know about it. So tell us a little bit about your program and how people can find it if they're interested in it. Because what I'm telling you is if your books are a little bit of mess or a lot of mess, or even you just want to make sure that you are doing it right, that you are set up well for taxes and for auditing, that's what this program is for. Or at least to me, that's what it's for. Like it helped me a lot. And I've been doing my bookkeeping myself for 5 years or more. So I kind of thought I knew what I was doing, but I didn't really know what I was doing.
No, you were doing more than the average person. I'll tell you that though. It wasn't that bad. I promise. I've seen so many cleanup jobs. It wasn't that bad. Let's see. It wasn't bad at all. So I do have a course called Automate to Dominate, teaching entrepreneurs and 1099 contractors bookkeeping and tax basics. And so the premise is just really teaching you the foundational things about accounting that are important to know as an entrepreneur without getting lost in all of the nitty gritty, like accountant specific stuff. But it's like teaching you the principles so that you, one, know how to read your financial statements, and then you also have some tools to get organized in your bookkeeping and then also be ready for tax season. And I'm really teaching the building blocks that you need to successfully do it for yourself. Because something that I know, when you're a new entrepreneur, there's so many things that are outside of your financial reach because of revenue, and many times bookkeeping is one of them, right? It's like most entrepreneurs spend their money on what they're passionate about and what is core to their business, and then everything else is like administrative overhead, which bookkeeping falls into that category is administrative overhead. So it's like while you're small and it doesn't make sense to hire someone, it's still good to know all of the how to set up your bookkeeping properly, how to put some systems in place so that it's easy for you to do, and then also easy for you to get everything together for tax season. And then another thing that's really important, why you should understand it as an entrepreneur, is so that when you grow to a place where you can hire someone, you can actually vet that person. I tell people all the time, it's not because we're a Christian, we're the same ethnicity, we're from the same state, it's none of those reasons matter when you're selecting an accountant to take care of your finances. You really have to vet them. And when you've done the task, it's like you have better oversight over it when you pass it on to someone else. And then when finances are no longer scary for you, you're able to go through your own financial statements and then talk to your accountant or your bookkeeper and say, "Hey, I made this purchase, but it's not on here," or "Hey, this is duplicated." It's like you're able to ask better questions about your own numbers, your own finances, because you also understand it. Right. And then that protects your business from theft. That protects your business from not just your accountant stealing, but even if you have people that have company credit cards, it's like it's really important for you to know what's happening with your money, because nobody cares about your business and your money like you do. And that is for your goals, your dreams, your legacy, what you're doing for your children. That's not that those finances is for God entrusted you with that to do what he called you to do with it, right? So it's like you also have to steward and protect it by people respect what you inspect. So it's like when there's no inspection because you don't understand what's going on with your numbers, then it really is an open door for an unethical person to come in and do what they want, or not do anything, where you're paying them every month, but they do absolutely nothing, right? But you don't know because you don't ever get into your software, your bookkeeping software. So there's a lot of things. That's why it's important for you to understand. And I really love empowering entrepreneurs, especially since I am one.